Greetings, everyone! And unfortunately, I wanted to do this as a webcam video, but I had to break my webcam. No, not really, guys, though I did throw it on the ground. If it's busted, oh well. But I very frustratingly have been trying to do this almost all day, because I told you guys Monday I was going to see that I saw The Amazing Spider-Man. And so I'm going to get right into it, guys. I'm not going to take very long with this video. It's going to be kind of a short little movie review of sorts. But I actually enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. This was the Spider-Man that the Tobey Maguire films should have been. Now that's not to say that the first two Maguire films were bad or terrible. No, they were actually pretty good, and this movie was right up there with the two of them. It was pretty close to Spider-Man 2, I would say, and how good it was. I loved Andrew Garfield. I loved Andrew Garfield. To me, you couldn't get a better actor to play Peter Parker. He literally fit the role perfectly. Emma Stone was not just eye candy as Gwen Stacy. She did a few things to actually help Pete out in this movie. She wasn't the damsel in distress, at least not completely. As far as Curt Connors, I was a little disappointed with his character simply because there were two missed opportunities, I felt. I felt that they should have explained how Curt Connors lost his arm to give a little bit more of an emotional quota with him. And I think they should have shown his wife and child, which was a severely missed opportunity, because that would have added a lot of character depth to Connors himself. But unfortunately, they didn't really go with that, and while it does kind of annoy me a little bit, it's okay, they just made him the stock cliche, mad scientist type character, and I'm sorry, I just couldn't enjoy that. Now, as far as the Lizard himself, the Lizard was awesome. And I disagree with anyone who says any differently. The Lizard looked awesome and badass in this movie. And a lot of people didn't well, how come he didn't have the snout? Honestly, this was more the Steve Ditko Lizard, and I actually enjoyed that. I literally enjoyed that. But what I also loved about this movie was the fact that they went back to the origin. Now, a lot of people didn't like that. They didn't like the Deus Ex stuff, and I can understand that. But maybe because I'm a sucker of superhero origin movies, that I really couldn't help but actually think, well, I wonder what new twists they're going to add. Okay, we see the web shooters. Uncle Ben's death was a lot more powerful and meaningful. And I actually enjoyed that, and I do kind of agree with most people. I wish that they kind of could have went into Richard Parker stuff. I'm hoping in the sequel, because they mentioned in the movie, huge spoiler alerts here. But then again, I even put there that there were going to be spoilers. Norman Osborn apparently is dying, and this cross species deal that they're doing in this movie, I like. I like this different kind of take on the Spider-Man mythos in that respect. But what I am looking most forward to is hopefully if they do it, fingers crossed for the sequel, that they actually go into Richard Parker's work. They actually describe some of the cross species stuff that he and Curt Connors did. I'm really hoping that they'll go into that. But we'll wait and see. I was also kind of hoping that they would show more characters like Max Dillon and that Russian guy that becomes the Rhino, or maybe even, Flint Marko, stuff like that. Or even see Michael Morbius or Dr. Otto Octavius, but sadly we didn't get to see that, which kind of made me feel a little bit sad, guys. I wanted to see some future Spidey rogues in there, but oh well. I mean, it is a first movie, and of course, even if he was, briefly shown about 2 or 3 times in the movie, I loved the whole deal with Flash Thompson. I thought that was really great. Overall, this movie just really felt very good. It felt very powerful. And I think the two greatest moments to me was the bridge sequence in the movie when he rescues that little boy after telling him to put his mask on. And also the scene afterwards with the kid's father, who we find out is a construction worker, and just that scene where where Peter's, wounded, and he's going into the final battle on Oscorp Tower. It's just epic because you see Pete, Webb is wound up, and he goes from limping to like sprinting in slow motion, and he's just like swinging, crawling, and flipping and twisting off of like all the different cranes that basically have made like a straight line for him. But definitely that ending shot in slow motion where we see Pete just like, swinging on one web and then he shoots Webb out of his shooter right straight at the screen in slow motion. That was a great moment because because truly guys, and I'll say it, there's only one Spidey and he is awesome. So that's it guys. That's my review in a nutshell.